Hello and welcome. You can call me P. And this is a quick intro into the channel. Now, who I am is a man in my 30s that's always found the creepy, strange, obscure, very interesting and entertaining. From conspiracy theories to unsolved murders, it's all fascinating because everybody fears monsters in the shadows. Whether that's unseen forces controlling events in our history or Slender Man. Either way, if you're curious what channels I watch myself, chances are it's the same as you, such as Explore With Us, Stay Awake, Dreading, Stranger Stories, Mr. Ballin', Lazy Masquerade, Nick Crowley, and Wendigoon, just to name a few. But I'm also willing to take recommendations because I'm finding new ones daily. So leave your recommendations in the comments, and also be aware I am not a lawyer, I'm not a doctor, psychologist, investigator, inventor, none of those things. Just a guy with an interest in the macabre. Now, why I decided to start this channel was simply to entertain myself and possibly share some things you haven't heard of. And also things that aren't just horrifying, but things that are odd and unexplainable. So again, welcome to Last House in the Woods. I hope you are ready to take this journey with me. Now let's get strange with some r/confessions. I qualified for state finals by hiding in a bush. So this story takes place around 6 years ago. I was in second year of secondary school, junior high to American readers, around 14 years old. I participated in cross-country running annually, not out of passion, but to miss a day of school and get pocket money for the shop after, buying loose rollies off my brother's friend. The event was held every year at the same cross-country grounds, about 20 minutes from my school. The big day arrives. I'm wearing essential running clothes, full tracksuit, puffy super dry jacket. Yes, they were trendy back then. And my trusty Air Max 90s that would slide through mud had I actually attempted to race. The day is wet, cold, and miserable. I decide on the way there, the last thing I want to be doing is running 5 kilometers in this horrific weather, then waiting for everyone else to finish, then sitting on a stuffy, muddy bus, shivering till I get home. No thanks. I had ran this course before, and knew it was 2 laps of a loop with a large foresty, bushy area in the center. The race starts. I set off at a sprint, so I don't alert my teacher to any potential fuckery. Run about 200 meters down the track. I check over my shoulder. No steward watching, so I proceed to hit the smoothest swan dive ever attempted straight into this bush. Everyone else thought I slipped and joined back after. Got extremely wet, cold, and muddy, but was it worth it? Every day of the week I gleefully watched everyone else, my friends included, suffer through the remainder of the race while I chilled thinking I was Lord Muck, smoking a rollie in the forest. The only crack in my plan was I failed to realize these were the Leinster final qualifiers. So I wait for the first group to come around and slink my way craftily into the back. I run about 40 meters to the finish line looking like I had just ran the whole course due to my poor fitness, muddy clothes, and not being able to run more than 10 meters without dying. My PE teacher is ecstatic, congratulating me on qualifying for Leinsters. I can still hear him saying, "And doing it in that big jacket as well." I had to hide my shock in that moment, but I played it off, all the while feeling incredibly bad for my teacher who had no idea of my abilities. The realization of running an actual track in front of a huge crowd in Leinster finals finally dawned on me, and I proceeded to tear my hamstring playing with my dogs days later. Yes, the same dog eating everyone's homework. The memory came to me today as I visited the place in which the course is located. I had to smile to myself upon remembering, and Mr. Upton, if you're ever out there reading this, my apologies. I copied an episode of a TV show for a writing competition. I was in primary school at the time, must have been around 9 or 10, and we had a competition to write a short story. We had one class to complete the task. I've always loved writing, had a way with words, and have always dreamed of becoming a writer. Never worked out like that. Anyway, I probably had my first case of writer's block. Nothing came to mind, and I furiously started writing nonsense on the page, scribbling it out again and again. Then I remembered something. I had recently watched a new episode of Goosebumps, so I wrote it down. The entire episode, from what I could remember. A goddamn Goosebumps episode. A week or so later, I had a dentist appointment, and as I got back to school, a bunch of girls were telling me how the teacher was telling everyone that I was a truly gifted writer, that it was such a good story that I had won the first prize. I was congratulated in front of the school later that day for my creativity and skill. I have such social anxiety and felt so bad that I accepted the award and acted grateful, but inside, I was full of guilt. Whoops. I used to go potty down the vents in my house as a child. Similar to most kids, I received room timeouts when I was younger. Sometimes they would go on and on. Eventually I'd have to go to the bathroom, and being way too scared to leave my room, I'd eventually go down the vents. I was on the upstairs floor, so I would imagine it would trickle all through the house and probably smelled when the furnace came on. My parents never found out. Reminds me of a post I once saw. A mom found her son's bathroom drawer in his room. A little wooden cabinet full of shit. I got a kid kicked out of the same class as me in the 6th grade. When I was in the 6th grade, there was a specific kid who disliked me. I was always purposely slightly annoying to children who I disliked because they were pricks, and she was one of those children. Note that I was only rude to children who I knew for a fact had a good home life. I would often purposely do many things that wouldn't get me in trouble, but that would be slightly annoying to her. This went on without anything happening other than her getting angry and arguing with me until one day she assaulted me in class. The teacher who saw it happen was going to send her to the office until I stopped the teacher and I told her not to. She, for some reason, listened and didn't do anything. 2 or 3 days later, I had walked past her and didn't do anything other than quietly burp. She freaked out and screamed at me. The teacher pulled me to the side after the kid left the class and asked me what happened. I told her that I quietly burped, only for her to yell at me for no reason. The teacher then said that the student would be removed from the class despite my objections. She was removed the next day. Although she didn't deserve getting moved out, she still deserved being annoyed. I had tried being kind to her and others before being rude, but they were always scumbags.